In 1960, when the entire world's eyes were fixed on America's Apollo missions, at that very moment, some truly terrifying experiments were being conducted on our neighboring planet, Venus. The Soviet Union, i.e., the Russians, planned a suicide mission to Venus. After billions of dollars and years of hard work, they prepared a probe that would, for the first time in history, land on another planet and capture its pictures. But the Russian probes encountered a hellish, infernal nightmare on Venus that stunned Russian scientists. Today we will learn about those suicide missions Russia conducted on Venus, which exposed Venus's terrifying secrets. How a small camera lens cap turned years of Russian effort and billions of dollars into dust. What was there that even with today's advanced technology, Russia has never returned? Welcome back once again to Journey Unlocked Videos, Nazreen. The Cold War was at its peak in the 1960s and 70s. There was a competition between America and today's Russia over who would become the king of space. Both countries had to do something to show the world to demonstrate their power and capability. In this race, America put all its effort into the moon. Although Russia had already won a part of this race by landing its probes on the moon, American President John F. Kennedy had promised the world that he would land a man on the moon before the end of the 1960s, which was indeed a very big claim. When the Russians saw that America could actually reach the moon, they set their target on Venus. Their goal was to prove that if America could go to the moon, Russia could set foot in hell. Until then, scientists thought Venus and Earth were exactly alike. They are neighbors. Their size is almost the same, and their distance from the Sun is also similar. But one difference is visible even from afar. Unlike Earth, Venus is completely shrouded in clouds. And at that time, humans had no idea what was hidden inside Venus's deep clouds. It was a secret box even for scientists. Russia thought the moon could be seen even with a telescope. If they showed the world the scene inside Venus, perhaps it would be an even bigger feat than America's moon landing. And if oceans, jungles, or alien creatures were captured inside these clouds, it would be a direct victory for the Russians. Thinking this, the Russians planned not one or two, but a total of 18 missions to Venus. For this task, the probe Russia designed was named Venera, which is Russian for Venus. At that time, scientists were sure of one thing. The clouds shrouding Venus and its proximity to the Sun meant that an atmosphere existed there. But how much denser this atmosphere was compared to Earth's, no one knew. They designed Venera to withstand high atmospheric pressure. At that time, in the space race, the Russians would hide any experiment from the world until it succeeded. Otherwise, they would face the disgrace of failure. On February 4, 1961, Russia sent its first probe towards Venus. But it couldn't even leave Earth's orbit. Under their policy, they did not inform the world about this failure. They simply made an excuse of launching a heavy satellite. Russia also had another policy. They would build two probes for one mission so that if one failed, the other could complete the mission. This time they built two probes, Venera 1 and Venera 2. Their goal was to just fly by Venus. That is, to pass by it and collect some data. Venera 1 launched on February 12, 1961. It was the first probe in history sent towards another planet. But just 7 days after launch, its contact with Earth was lost. The result was that this silent probe passed by Venus from a distance of 100,000 kilometers, but could not send us any data. And it is still wandering somewhere around the Sun today. 4 years later, on November 12, 1965, Venera 2 was sent. But its fate was similar to Venera 1. Contact was lost as soon as it left Earth's orbit, and this mission also failed. Let me tell you here that in the 1960s, Russia made several other attempts, but they all failed miserably. They weren't even given the Venera name. These are called ghost missions in the history of the space race. Now came the turn of Venera 3 and 4, and this was the year 1966. This time the Russians built larger and more powerful probes, weighing 1 ton. They had 2 parts. One was a bus that would take the probe to the planet's outer atmosphere, and the other was a sphere that would enter the planet. This sphere had several sensors installed: a pressure sensor, also called a barometer, a gas analyzer to detect gases in Venus's atmosphere, a thermometer, batteries, and 2 antennas to transmit all this data. Venera 3's mission was only to check the atmosphere there. There was no intention of a soft landing, nor any provision for it. Meaning, it was a suicide mission. But alas, as soon as it entered Venus's terrifying winds, its system also failed, and it couldn't send any data back to the Russian scientists. It was just a crash landing. But on March 1, 1966, Venera 3 became the first man-made object in history to crash into the surface of another planet. Well, the next year, in October 1967, Venera 4 brought the Russians a little success. It successfully headed towards Venus, and this time, without any system failure, it discovered that the atmosphere there is mostly carbon dioxide gas. Initially, the Russians claimed that Venus's atmosphere was 25 times denser than Earth's. According to them, Venera 4 landed safely on Venus's surface because it had a parachute inside. But later it was found out that actually, Venera 4 could not withstand the high atmospheric pressure as soon as it entered Venus's atmosphere and crumpled like a soda can. When the Russians understood that their probes could not land on Venus's surface, they sent Venera 5 and 6 just to be destroyed in the air. Because their design was also similar to Venera 4. They also had parachutes, and they had only 50 minutes in Venus's atmosphere to send data. Both probes were launched in 1969, and this time the result was the same. Before much information could be obtained, they were destroyed in the air within an hour. But the Russians did not lose heart. This time they made Venera 7 extremely strong. This probe was truly strong like a tank. It was so heavy and tough that its goal was set to just one thing: survive on Venus. In the pursuit of strength, not many scientific instruments were installed in it. But perhaps Venera's luck was just bad. At the time of landing, due to a technical problem, its switchboard got stuck in such a position that now it could only send temperature data. But Russian scientists were so clever that they estimated from just that temperature data that the atmospheric pressure on the surface there is 90 times that of Earth. That is, pressure equal to being 1 kilometer deep in the ocean. And at that time, when Venera 7 was nearing landing, another problem arose. Its parachute tore, and it fell onto Venus's surface at a speed of 17 meters per second. The good news was that Venera 7 survived. The bad news was that it turned upside down, and its antenna was facing downwards. But the Russian scientists did not lose heart and, despite the antenna being down, captured the weak signal. In a fallen and broken condition, but Venera 7 maintained contact with Earth from Venus's surface for the next 23 minutes. Thus, it became the first man-made object in history to land on another planet and send signals from there. But the temperature it detected on Venus's surface made the world's hair stand on end. A temperature of 465 degrees Celsius was recorded on Venus's surface, which is twice the temperature of an oven. Another astonishing thing happened. When it was falling down on Venus, it was continuously sending radio signals to Earth. At that time, Russian scientists noted that along with falling, there was something there that was pushing Venera 7 from the side. Because this movement was causing a slight change in the radio frequency. This frequency shift is called the Doppler effect. Calculating it, they estimated that there are stormy winds of 360 km per hour present in Venus's atmosphere, which were pushing the probe to one side. This speed is far greater than even the biggest. The Venera 8 mission was more advanced than all previous missions. Because now the Russians knew what kind of terrifying enemy they were facing. 90 times more pressure, 360 km/h storms, and heat greater than a tandoor. Venera 8 had a gamma spectrometer installed to test the soil there and also a light sensor. This time, it was deliberately landed during the day, not at night like Venera 7, to find out how much light there is on Venus during the day. The light sensor confirmed that despite the thick clouds, there is enough light on Venus's surface for things to be visible. With the help of the light sensor, it was discovered that the sun's light spreads everywhere there, like we have during heavy clouds. Venera 8 breathed on Venus's surface for 60 minutes. In that era, any machine surviving for 1 hour in 465 degrees heat in such pressure was nothing short of a miracle. The period from Venera 9 to 12 was the period of Russia's greatest success and greatest misfortune. The design of all 4 of these probes was kept quite different. Heavier than 5 tons and a strange UFO-like lander. This was a round box in the middle where all the delicate electronics were kept so that heat and pressure would not destroy them immediately. At the very bottom was a crush ring that would crumple upon landing and act as a shock absorber, and the umbrella-like thing on top was an aerobrake that would reduce its speed before landing. These probes also had something everyone was waiting for. Yes, a camera. 2 cameras were installed in each probe to get a 360 degrees view of Venus. But at the last moment, a glitch occurred. After landing, the lens caps did not open. In Venera 9 and 10, only 1 camera's cap opened. Venera 11 and 12 survived for 110 minutes. But unfortunately, both lens caps of both probes did not open. They sent a lot of data but not a single picture. On October 2, 1975, Venera 9, relying on only 1 lens, sent the first picture of Venus. It was a historic moment that a man-made machine sent a picture from another planet. The world saw that Venus is not a sandy desert but a rocky and terrifying land where pointed stones are scattered. Now came the turn of Venera 13 and 14. This was a magnificent ending to the golden era of the Soviet Union, i.e., Russia. These missions showed the world what humans had never seen before. But such a strange mistake also happened in this, which remains an example in the history of space even today. These probes didn't just have cameras but also a microphone. After landing, when Venera 13's microphone was opened on Venus's surface, a sound like this was heard. Sound of wind and thunder. Venera 13 recorded, for the first time in history, the sound of winds and thunder on another planet. It also had a drill and a seismometer. The soil samples there were enough to find out that earthquakes also occur on Venus. Venera 13 also sent the first colored picture of Venus. From these pictures, we can know today that Venus's sky is orange and the ground is brownish. But what happened with Venera 14 will leave you stunned. A spring-loaded arm was installed in it that would hit the ground hard upon landing to find out how hard Venus's soil is. But as soon as the camera's landscape lens cap fell, it unfortunately fell exactly where that tester arm was supposed to fall. The result was that instead of checking the hardness of the ground, that instrument ended up measuring the hardness of its own camera's lens cap. Thus, millions of dollars of hard work were wasted because of a small cap. Moving on. With Venera 15 and 16, Russia completely changed its probe strategy. Where the earlier probe's target was to land on its surface, Venera 15 and 16 orbited Venus for 8 months. They had SAR, i.e., synthetic aperture radar installed. Because Venus's clouds are so dense that no camera can photograph this planet. With the help of SAR, a map of Venus's surface was created for a full 8 months. These last missions tore the veil of Venus's thick clouds and told us that on this hellish planet, There are mountains 88 kilometers high and cracks thousands of kilometers long. Because of these Soviet missions, we can see the complete map of Venus today. Although America declared Russia's Venera missions a failed experiment, it is because of them that we know how hot Venus is, that the pressure there is 90 times that of Earth, that its skies have carbon dioxide gas and clouds of acid like sulfuric acid, that stormy, hell-like hot winds blow there all the time, and that its land is rocky and filled with sharp stones. During the space race, the Soviet Union conducted so many missions to Venus, some secret, some public, that many people still recognize it by the name, Soviet Planet. Even many of its valleys and craters have been given Russian names. Since Venus's clouds are made of sulfuric acid, why can't the acid rain reach the surface? Give me the answer in the comment section. Hope you will like and share this Journey Unlocked video as well.